Welcome back to the Pipeline Podcast. Sitting next to me here, we have Josh Stapleton, software engineer. And before I introduce myself, as the viewers know, I'm Jordan Nicholas. What can you tell us about yourself, Josh?
So I'm Josh Stapleton. I'm a software engineer, primarily focusing in AI. So do lots of practically coding, quite a bit of consulting with companies based here in South Africa. But lots of my clients are overseas. So I'll do technical advising with them, but then also a lot of practical software type development. But my fascination is AI, and I think, really excited to talk about that tonight.
Yeah, and as Josh said, he specializes in AI, so we thought it would be a great topic to bring forward to you guys. And we hope you enjoy it as normal. And we, us, we like, even though we don't have our usual co-host here, you guys know the drill. We go with the flow. We just talk and fit in where you can.
Perfect.
Okay. So for me, like, AI was probably like one of the most fascinating things to like learn about and read about, because I did ICT through Cambridge, and like that messed with my head a bit. I was like, this stuff's scary, because that was like my first. But then at that like given point in time, I didn't know how long it had been around. And that just boggled my mind. I was like, this stuff is not like old. It's like still, well, it's not new. It's still fairly like been around for quite some time. So I found that very interesting, and how people are using it. And I was watching TED Talks, and like there's a lot of concerns around it as well. And I'm sure you can also just butt in at any given point in time.
No, it's interesting.
Sit through. So if you always just feel comfortable to talk.
I think it's nice to have like the pauses in and just the random, like, I think that's what makes a podcast really human, is to have, it's not a scheduled discussion. It's just like, what happens, the tangents. It's beautiful that way.
You heard him, Joe Rogan. We coming for you, boy.
Watch out.
So I'd like to hear what your opinions are about like AI, and like what are your concerns around it? Are we moving too fast into it?
Well, I mean, hugely loaded questions. I think to kind of start on your earliest comment, like, you're right, modern AI hasn't been around for like a super long time. I mean, you can think of the history of AI kind of starting with Turing. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's this British guy, father of like computer science, pretty much. And he was fascinated by AI. I think it was like late 40s, early 50s. He helped break like the German Enigma code, which led to saving millions of lives. It's like a national hero. But he proposed this idea of the Turing test, which is kind of the first big stake in the ground in terms of like what AI is and how we begin to understand it. So Turing test is like, if you take a human and you put it in a room, and then you give like another human and a computer the ability to speak with that human.
Play chess.
Can the human, or play chess, can that human like tell the difference between them? And so you engage in long form conversation, you play games with them, whatever you want. And the Turing test is, if the computer can fool the human into thinking it's another human, or the human can't figure out the difference between a human and AI, it's passed the Turing test, and that is now officially an AI. So for context, the Turing test, I would argue, was passed in 2021. Like, systems like ChatGPT, what's called large language models, are trained on like huge amounts of internet data, long form conversation, and they learn to speak like us. I mean, modern viewers would know this. You can just go online, Google ChatGPT, and just speak to it like you would a friend.
Or even test ChatGPT yourself.
Exactly. So you can run the Turing test. You can ask it about anything, and it will respond in a very lifelike way. So that is kind of the framework, I think, for how AI is working today.
That's quite amazing. Like, the thing that really freaked me out is I was watching a TED Talk on a guy that is one of the people that is actually enforcing AI. Like, actually trying to put in all the like the halts and the things that say like, hold on guys, we're rushing into this a bit too quickly. And the thing that really freaked me out is when he was talking about it, he was like, he went into great depth about how we are rushing into this far too quickly, and how there are going to be like surreal consequences to our own actions. He said the problem is in the past.
Yeah.
He said we could have learned from our mistakes. The problem in the future is AI has already learned from our mistakes and is playing them against us.
Yeah.
Sort of.
It's a very terrifying way to put it, but
Yeah.
it's valid. I mean, yeah, the AI safety concerns are extremely legitimate. I mean, it used to be so much less politicized than it is now, but these days, like, AI people tend to fall into two camps, what's called the accelerationists and the doomers.
Okay.
The doomers are very much like, AI is going to kill us all, we need to stop this right now, and some of the more extreme ones literally will say, let's bomb the data centers, let's actually take out strategically the chip fabrication plants, the systems that are building, the labs that are designing these AIs. Like, they are serious. They think it has a very real chance of ending all of humanity in the next couple of decades.
So in my mind, I don't think it can go to that like extreme just yet.
Yeah.
Like I'm still very much in the mindset of like, yes, it is a concern, but my thing is it still requires a person with the wrong intentions to make it do what it wants it to do. So it's like, if there's no one, it still requires human intervention to kind of like step in and be like, no, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Like, you can do this. But the thing that boggled my mind with AI is when you take, like, I don't know if you've seen those apps where you can take a photo of a celebrity and then like it'll project them nude.
Yeah.
That to me is terrifying.
Yeah.
Like that's where I say like AI needs those.
It needs levels of regulation. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's actually a very balanced take. Most people I speak to about AI have been programmed by like our media, which is very much, you know, Terminator is the go-to source on like AI is evil, it will develop intentions of its own, and it will take over the world and kill us all just because. I'm much more with you that while I think that is a concern in the further future, and I can speak about that later, right now the biggest concern is bad human actors using AI for nefarious purposes.
Yeah.
So if you look at, I mean, this is real right now. China, totalitarian regimes, they are using AI for mass surveillance. I think in 2015, China used surveillance to catch a criminal, literally from his walking gait, like in a crowd of people, arrested him for that.
And I feel like AI is going to be the biggest invasion of privacy in the future. Like, forget about stalkers, because they're just going to send a drone past your house that is automatically programmed to get the footage that it wants.
Yeah.
And you know what the scary thing is? We actually had a story of like a friend of ours that had an issue where people were just programming drones to fly around the house while like their children were in the showers and things. Like, to me, dude, I was immediately like, that is so messed up.
No, it is. Yeah. I mean, AI already right now in the wrong hands can do like catastrophic harm.
It's scary, dude.
Yeah, it's more, I think, at this stage on the social side of things than like outright warfare. But the warfare applications of AI are coming. Like, we already see this in Ukraine. There was this video I saw, a drone pilot just literally connecting to the drone and then just like sending them off and saying like, a simple, it's not even complex AI. It's like, find your target, fly to it, and blow up. And that's a drone this big. Like, it can kill you. It's horrifying. But like, this is here already. This is what most people don't get. My big other one is Cambridge Analytica. You know that whole scandal with the 2016 elections. That was like social programming using AI on a level we haven't
seen propaganda.
For propaganda.
Yeah, no, I read about that as well. Yeah. Like, my thing is, my biggest concern is it's already fallen into the wrong hands. How do we, like, as humans, stop that from happening? It is so hard. It's like, it's here and it's here to stay. You're either with it or you're against it. And being against it is not going to necessarily be a good thing for you. It's only going to make you fall further and further behind with the rest. Because people have got to kind of like progress with like, so to me there's 4 stages of evolution. There was actually a scientific study done on this. We're only in stage 2 of civilization now and evolution now. We're only in stage 2, dude. There's 4. The 4th stage is essentially where we kind of achieve eternal peace on the planet and everybody uses the resources responsibly, and I feel like we are still very, very far away from that. And it's like there's also stage 4 is like just when you've essentially, to put it in biblical terms, is like when you've created a heaven on earth sort of scenario. And then to me, stage 3 is like we are so far from stage 3. We only went into stage 2 into the early 2000s.
Yeah. What is stage 2?
Stage 2 is when there's been a boost in technology and a boost in like fields of work like medicine and agriculture and things like we utilizing the information we have to better the world for ourselves. But the problem is stage 2 is you build these things to help you, but they're not necessarily only going to help you. They're going to kind of like there's going to be always good with the bad. You got to see that yin and yang. You know what I'm saying? It's like you're going to have all these things to help you, but at the end of the day, it's going to be very difficult when you have the bad consequences that come with them. So we are still learning about the consequences that are coming with the evolutionary stages. And that to me is very scary. Like if we're only sitting in stage 2 and this is what the predictions are, and if you look at the climate change and the issues we are facing in the world, that always messes with me. I'm like, there's so many things going on that like we as the general society have no idea about, and there's like so many other things. Please don't kill me, you America. Because like I feel like there's no, as much as they like to say there's freedom of speech, it's very broad like topic of conversation. Is like you can say something and immediately in America someone will take offense to it, or in Australia, and it's like there's so many different things that we can't work together with people because we're not seeing that that's a human too. It's money and things have got in the way of it. So that's when I say the different stages are so broad and their descriptions like have like miniature stages to them. And we've just moved into stage 2. And in stage 3, it's when all the wars have been fought and we've essentially, the survivors have rebuilt civilization with the knowledge that they've gained from all the different stages of civilization and evolution. Which to me is just scary to think about. But like it's a real reality because we see it on the news all the time. No, I think I would love to hear more about like what on earth stage 4 looks like if this is stage 2. But I think like that concern is very legitimate. And going back to like the social disconnect we see, I think many people don't make this link, but that's also a product of AI. Early AI. That's where I was going with it.
Exactly. Like Facebook, social media, many people know like that has been the major exacerbating factor in like why we're so like hateful of each other as a species. Why you will say, I think this online, and you'll have 100 people in your DMs being like, kill yourself. Like that's literally the classic Twitter experience.
Dude, my best is the trolls. Dude.
I know.
Like, I go online and like if I see a troll, I just make a positive comment.
Exactly.
Like, yo, bro, take it easy. Hope you have a great day. And then you're just immediately hit with negativity, and you're like, where, bro?
It's pain. I mean, and that is a result of early AI. So I think that the big innovation in AI in like early, late 2010s was recommendation algorithms. So like why do you get these billion-dollar social media companies, Twitter, Facebook, all of them? And it's because of this incredibly powerful recommendation algorithm that was built. It's like, given a user profile, predict what they would like to see most. And it turns out what we'd like to see most is like negative, vitriolic, like messy content, horrible stuff. Like that's what draws attention. That's what draws a click. Dude. You see a video of like cute puppy versus child killed. You're going to click on child killed. Like that is the reaction.
Because you're not going to, I feel like it's also a bit of the shock tactics. It's like, you're like, wow, there's no way someone posted a video like that. It's like, your mind actually boggles, and it's like a bit of a moral dilemma, but very minor moral dilemma that you face in that moment. You're like, as much as I'm against that video, I still want to go and like actually watch it to believe, like to say seeing is believing. Like I actually saw that, and that was online. That is a reality.
For sure.
And that's to me is terrifying. Like,
I mean, I sound like a boomer here, but like that is the long-term consequence of this. Recommendation algorithms that can literally hack your mind. TikTok for me is terrifying. Like I deleted TikTok. I can't be on that. It's too addictive. And so I'm like, when you have like now an entire generation growing up on that, you have this echo chamber of just like unbelievable negativity and violence and That for me is an involuntary. No one sat there necessarily and crafted that AI and you're like, we want bad social consequences. They just said, how can we maximize ad revenue?
How can we make money?
Yeah. And that is the result because of, and we can speak about this word in a lot more detail, but misaligned AI.
Yes.
An AI that isn't quite aligned to our values. It might seem to be, but it's
on
not.
Our side, but that's where propaganda starts.
Exactly.
Right? And you know what really South Africa was one of the last countries to get a TV here.
I did hear that, yeah.
Yeah.
In the 50s or something.
Even I believe it might even be a bit later. I know my grandfather actually told me about it. But to me, what really messed with my mind, bro, is I'd look at a fact like that. Did you know why South Africa was one of the last? Because the government saw what it was doing to children overseas.
Oh yeah.
And they were like, no, we actually don't want...
So it was actually a conscious decision.
It was a conscious decision to stop that.
Yeah.
So, to me, is if a TV, something as harmless as a TV does that much damage, something with so much power and so much, knowledge behind it that is feeding so much more to kids, that is, a real concern. And I feel that's the biggest problem with why society is so messed up. Is literally because the knowledge we have access to is far easier to get a hold of, number one, and so much misconceptions as well. You'll hear something, you'll be like, actually that sounds interesting, I wonder if it's true. And I feel that's going to cause real issues in the future, especially with AI, because you get these AI generated videos. And it's how do I know what's real and what's fake? But what I like about that, and I have to be really honest, is that if you have these videos where you don't know what's real and what's fake, you are forced to have an opinion for yourself. And I feel in the last couple of years, we as people have lost our own opinions on things. Because we get fed with information.
It's propaganda.
That's propaganda, and we're like, well, I believe that because I saw it on the news. The news isn't a reliable source of information, if you ask me, bro.
Really?
And to me, that's what messes with my mind, is it's now forcing people to actually question the news. And actually form their own opinion about what's going on around them.
We're faced with the misinformation apocalypse. That is one of the first massive negatives. I mean, we can talk about all manner of apocalypses that are coming because of AI, but that is the first one, is misinformation. Where you can have a video or a photo or even a full speech of a politician on stage speaking for hours that is completely 100% fake and AI generated and is indistinguishable from reality. That exists now, and you see it already. The fun part is we always will say, oh no, we can tell that's AI generated. But think about the millions of videos you probably watched which you didn't know AI generated. And you were like, oh, that's just a video.
That's what scares me, bro. Is it's moving way too quickly to put policies in place.
And you can't. That's the best part. For generative AI in particular, you can't watermark the content to be this is AI generated. There's no way to prove in a strong, rigorous way that content from ChatGPT is AI generated. Especially, and where you get the masterclass is if you are getting a human who's creating that content and then slightly modifying it. So it's a paradox, but if you generate an essay with ChatGPT and you change 3 words, that's not AI generated anymore. That's hybrid generated. It's you plus the AI. So can we then detect that that's AI because it's a combination? It becomes paradoxical.
That's scary, right? Dude. No, that's terrifying. I find it very interesting.
And I mean, that's, as we said, the near term happening kind of right now or in the next 2-3 years of specifically bad actors using AI for evil, totalitarian regimes. North Korea, imagine what they could do with powerful AI. Just think, total control on the part of government, surveillance to the point where, I mean, you can even start to look into people's thoughts. There's AI that can, from brainwaves, read your thoughts.
So there's that common belief that everybody emits a frequency. I don't know if you've heard of I'm trying to think of the glass's name now. It's where you can actually see it's a glass that's actually, it's a conspiracy theory.
Oh yeah.
But it's a glass, a pair of glasses that was crafted by a guy that made the lens a specific way out of a specific kind of crystal.
Okay.
That you can actually see people's energy fields and auras around them. I don't know if you've heard of that theory.
I might have, yeah.
Yeah. So the whole thing around that is, I can't think of its name, but ignore the name. Yeah. But the whole thing about that is like, what if we could do that and have a camera lens or something like that monitoring people?
Yeah.
Like you would immediately kind of have an idea about what they're thinking about, kind of know what they're feeling about that day. So it's like they might not say it. Like a place like North Korea, for example, they might not speak badly about it, but you can see that they're having negative thoughts about it.
And then you literally get into something worse than 1984.
Yes.
Like that's literally where you're walking down the street, you have a thought. Like a human doesn't pick it up. An AI system operating in and of its own capability picks up and thought crimes you. And police are on the scene, drone police in 10 seconds, being like, sorry, you thought the wrong thought. Our great and benevolent dictator sentences you to life imprisonment or like execution. That's the fun little reality which we could be seeing ourselves in very soon.
Dude, that's terrifying. I never thought of it like that. Yeah. But I just, do you want to take a break for a bit?
Or I'm happy to keep going. This is really interesting.
Yeah, no, I'm enjoying it as well. Yeah. So like, just shout if you need a break. Hey?
Sure.
Yeah, because I'm also enjoying the conversation now. So the one thing that like really boggled my mind around AI is just how easily you can generate things and how like quickly it will give you an essay.
Yeah.
Like we could go on our phones right now and say, write me an essay on Nelson Mandela. But to me, it's like, yes, you might have software to prevent and tell if someone's cheating like that.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the oak just needs to change like a couple of words in this essay.
Yeah.
And then theoretically it's his.
Yeah.
You can have the best software in the world, but it's like he's still using a tool to his advantage, but he's not learning anything.
Exactly.
And that's where I think the biggest concern for schools is coming in, is like kids, they're going to have to go back to paper and pencil.
Yeah.
Like you want to write an essay, that's fine. Write it with a pencil and a paper so we know you're not cheating sort of vibe.
No, that's apocalypse number 2 in my mind. And that's why so much of my work, I sit on an educational board and advise on AI for a school that's coming here in Belito. But educators, entire schools, entire systems of education are just completely and utterly destroyed by this. Like AI brings in like this fundamental thing of you can't know if it's AI generated. Like even just generating the essay and not changing anything, it sounds incredibly human and incredibly realistic. But all the student has to do, as you say, is change 2 words in a sentence. And that's no longer purely AI generated. That's their work now. That they've used AI to help them, but it still has their own touch on that. And so how on earth do teachers start to handle that?
Yeah, that's why I said the only way I can think of is the old school.
Pen and paper,
And that's why I also kind of feel like AI is a good thing.
Yeah.
Because it's going to force a lot of industries to also kind of go that route. Where like if you look at a company like logistics, for example, they've got a mate of mine was telling me the other day he works in a I'm not going to mention names, but like they could fly a drone with a little like infrared camera on it that would just fly past all the computers on the floor and steal all the company's information just by hacking into them with an AI generated code in the drone. They just fly past and steal all your information from your company and use it to benefit themselves.
No, it's achievable right now.
And it's terrifying, bro. Like it's like, oh, you think you're untouchable? Let me just fly my little drone past your house, take all your information off your phones and things.
Yeah, I mean, it challenges how we actually think about education at a very deep level, because that's the one option. And I've seen schools go this way. Like I'm currently doing a master's, Imperial College London. In some classes, outright banned. In some classes, they encourage you to use AI. So it's just like the education world is in shambles. They have no idea what to do. And like so much of it is fear mongering. They'll be like, it's not real, it's fake, you're like shooting yourself in the foot. And some, I think, more progressive educators are realizing there's actually something here. And if we can put the right spin on this, we can get it to help students.
And that's what I'm saying. It also comes down to, and this is where I'm very, like, in the education field, feel very strongly about this, is yes, you need the implications and the things in place, but for lazy students, that's what I worry about, bro. It's like, I'm not worried about the guys that are going to use it for their advantage, not just to get the degree, but to thrive in that degree.
Exactly.
It's the guys that don't want to put in the work. It's like me going to do a surgery as a doctor, but I don't have, I got my degree as a doctor through AI.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, just an example, not a very good one, but like, how can I perform surgery or build a building when my entire life's class works? Yes, you need the experience as well, but when all I've learned on the computer is like generated by AI, how can I implement that knowledge that I don't have into the real world?
Exactly.
And that's where I have a serious problem with it. It's like, you look at it, you're like, whoa, that's very scary stuff.
And I mean, we're fast approaching a future where AI will be able to complete a PhD autonomously, where you don't need human intervention. It has the sheer intellectual capability to write and complete and do well at a like PhD degree. And so like when you have a world like that, you can get these like students, lazy students as you describe them, which would just use AI for absolutely everything, finish their degree, and be like having like in ownership of a PhD level qualification and not know the first thing about their topic because they've used AI for every single thing.
And that's a big concern.
Oh yeah, believe me.
It's like, you as an architect, how are you going to design a house if you don't have the knowledge on how to design the house?
You won't. Like
that house is doomed. Bro, there'll be no foundation.
Exactly.
It's like, it's terrifying to think about. Like,
no, it can be used like very, very badly for things like that. And so that's why I think education at a very deep level needs to be rethought. Like, why would students be considering, let me use AI for that purpose in the first place?
It's because they don't want to put in the work.
Exactly.
I'm not being mean. Like, I'm just saying, as a kid, if I didn't like school, for example, and I didn't like school when I was a kid, but if I didn't want to put in the work and do well, I would go to AI nowadays, right? Like, because it's so easily accessible to me, and I can use it to get through and go have fun with my friends and do the things I want to do and be a kid. But when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, I didn't put in the hard work to get where I want to be.
Exactly. And I think that's why we need to rethink education at like a foundational level. Where why do we have students who would be prepared to use AI? Maybe it's because perhaps education has become this like parrot learning rote thing that you're just told to do. You know, you have to get a degree and your number in the system, and that's why we'd even consider using AI because you're like, I hate this. This is the worst. It's not teaching me anything. I'm just told to spend the first 20 years of my life, 25 years of my life getting educated. That's why we have students who would be prepared to use AI. But if we rewrote education entirely from the ground up, the education is now something you're interested in, something you understand is beneficial for you. Maybe that would be a better use.
Speaking on the education topic, the thing that like amazed me, so my mom's a teacher. And what really like amazed me is if you go to, I think it's Switzerland, there's a school that will only teach you life skills in Switzerland. They have the most like successful kids in life come out of that school. Why? Because they're not learning your normal geography, your maths, your physics, your sciences, all those things like a normal kid would. They learn how to kind of take that knowledge and apply it in the real world. And I feel like that's where we need to rethink education to be like, we need to teach kids how to survive. Stuff like not just create a generation of workers. You know what I'm saying? Because that's, you know, something very interesting that a mate of mine was telling me. You know who started school? Do you want to Google it?
Like an individual?
Like an individual. Like,
I know like modern schooling was a byproduct of the Industrial Revolution. I didn't know there was like a specific person who actually...
Okay, let's just take a break quickly. We'll continue with that Plan podcast. I'm here still with Josh Stapleton, and we were talking a bit about AI and like some of the consequences, some of the issues that are going on with the world today around education, industry, things like that. But yeah, so one of the things with the pipeline is we like to jump topics and then come back to original topics. So one of the things that I thought we could talk about a bit about, because like none of this would be possible without finance. I'm sure you know that. So one of the things that actually blew my mind, that like really messed with me a lot, is I can never remember the businessman's name, not that one. But there was another guy that it was like a form of insurance fraud, if you want to put it to. It's called the waterfall effect. So what he would do is he was very wealthy dude, like way wealthy. It might have been Rockefeller, if I'm not wrong. But he started something called the waterfall effect. So what he did is he would take out a massive life insurance policy on himself with the bank, but you got to have a certain amount of status and money to get that life insurance policy. So what he would do is he would then go and get a credit card. Not a debit card, like a credit card, and he could spend as much money as he wanted. But the idea behind it was when he died, none of that money went back to his family. It would immediately go back into the life insurance. The life insurance policy money would goes straight back into paying off the credit card debt. Which is like mind blowing. Like you can spend as much money as you want, but you got to have a certain status and amount of money to do so. I don't know how true it is. But like this is what I've kind of like. I saw it on Joe Rogan's podcast, and I also saw a few people chatting about it. Like on chat boards and things. I was like, that's actually quite interesting. So he didn't. The crazy thing for him though is he didn't only do it for himself. He did it for his entire family, so they could all do what they wanted and spend as much money as they want. And then when they die, obviously the bank's losing a bit, but then they make it all back, if not more.
When you find an expert like that, it makes sense to spread it around your like friends and family. And
but it was crazy because that blew my mind. The man literally beat the bank. There was like a whole I wouldn't call it a documentary, but I read a web page about it, like where they went into depth about how he got that right. And you have to have a certain amount of money and status to get that right in the first place, because the bank's not just going to let anyone go in and get that life insurance policy.
No, but this is still an action. I mean, I can't claim to know a huge amount about finance, but I did study it in uni, and Bezos does this, Jeff Bezos. He will take out gigantic loans from the bank secured against his like gigantic Amazon holding. So they'll be prepared to lend him, $100 million because he says, look at my Amazon stock, it's worth $100 billion. And they'll say, okay, sure, here's $100 million because we know you can pay this back easily. And so he'll take that money, go wild, buy super yachts, spend it all, and he pays zero tax on it because you don't pay tax on debt, right?
Yes.
And then when it comes time to pay off that debt, he will just go and get another loan from a different bank and pay it off. So he can just perpetuate this endless cycle where he's not paying tax and he gets unlimited spending power.
The problem I have with that is, though, bro, is like a guy with that much money, why is he not contributing more to society? But I get why he's not, and I'll explain in a moment why he's not contributing. So
getting controversial now.
I kind of get why he's not, because did you know you know who the richest man in history was?
It's that Nigerian
Mansa Musa.
Yes,
So Mansa Musa, I actually watched a video on this that blew my mind. Was Mansa Musa when he went on this pilgrimage to Mecca. When he passed through Egypt, every poor person he saw on the street, this will mess with your mind as well, I'm pretty sure. He gave a brick of gold. But you know what he know what he did in the process of that? He bankrupted the Egyptian economy. Because an economy, this is where I have a problem with democracy, not really democracy, but with the systems we have in place nowadays. An economy cannot happen if someone is not lacking. If you really think about it, money always gets passed from rich to poor.
You need disequilibrium.
You need, and like, the guy that I wish I had that TikTok video because it's amazing. The guy goes into great depth about like when he was passing through how economia, it's a word from like Latin roots. Not too sure, but this is what I watched in the video, which means the study of lack.
Okay, wow,
Which is flippin' scary if you think this is what we use as a currency. And it's like you cannot have an equilibrium if someone is not lacking.
No, exactly.
And that's terrifying, dude. It's like you go and you finance something. But like, or you start your own business, you're always going to be making more money than the people beneath you, if you think about it. But it always gets passed from rich to poor. And that's where I have the biggest problem with the world today. Is like, I'm not a communist, but I believe that everybody should be seen equally. And humanity has kind of lost the plot on like, we don't see people for people or treat people as people anymore.
Especially online.
And even on the streets, bro, when you see a guy begging at the robots, my thing is you cannot judge someone unless you've walked in their shoes. You understand their story, you understand how hard their journey was and why he is still there, standing at the robots. That to me is a big accomplishment for him, is he's still around, he's still living and breathing. And what really breaks my heart is a guy like that is still fighting to stay alive and survive. But we see the suicide rates so high. And so like crazy. But like that just breaks my heart, bro. It's like some people will kill themselves because life gets hard. And like, don't hold it against me, internet, but this is just how I perceive things. It's like a guy like that who would give us anything to be in that person's position, not knowing the circumstances that they've walked through as well, sort of thing, but he sees them as better off. But that's why I say, like, when I get up in the morning, me personally, what I do is I get out of bed and I'm like, take a deep breath in, and I'm like, wow, I'm so grateful to have woken up in a bed with a roof over my head, and just appreciate that to start off with, because how many people don't have that opportunity every morning?
Just gratitude can go like such a long way. It's pretty insane. Yeah. I mean, I can't be on a podcast without expressing at least one controversial opinion.
That's why I brought it up.
No, but I think the billionaire thing is interesting. A lot of people, I think, have maybe a misconception that billionaires have like just mountains of cash sitting around, like Scrooge McDuck style. It's just like you go swimming in your piles of gold.
But it's not that, it's assets.
It's not that, yeah. And I think in many cases, sure, they do have a lot of cash in the bank, which is just sitting there and could be used for better purposes. But I think a lot of billionaires' wealth is tied up in
assets.
Like actual, but not just assets for their own purpose, like public assets.
Yes.
So if you look at Amazon.com, like that is a public asset, which you would argue, I mean, we can make various cases, but Amazon, I think, has massively improved the quality of human life net, where like you have like people who have the ability to get what they want quickly. Like you have just this like hyper efficient ecosystem where you can buy things, you can get it at speed. And sure, there's net negative effects in third world countries. You have things like sweatshops and those terrible things. But in general, I think these huge companies, these massively successful companies, in many cases do make the world a better place. Like Microsoft, etc. That's given us modern computing. And like
there's always positives to all the negatives. But because my issue with it is people always will focus on the negative and not see that like maybe they did do something to contribute towards society, but because we're seeing so many bad things about them because of media once again, it's like you focus on those negatives because you're like, why don't you do more to help people? You got all this money, but meanwhile it's net worth, it's estimated wealth. It's like what they do when they calculate net worth, I'm sure you know this, is they take all your assets and like your companies and things, and that's accumulated wealth. It's not like wealth you actually physically have sitting in your bank account. It's accumulated wealth. It's like something that comes with your company. So your company is valued at a certain amount of money. So that is where I start to see like, no, maybe they're not so bad, but there's so much like power behind those minds. That is where I worry.
Exactly.
It's like
guys the individual capability.
Yes.
I mean, I'm no billionaire sympathizer. I don't think I'll ever be. I think many of them can do a lot more than they are doing. But I think that, as you say, a lot of that wealth, people think it's just they're just greedily holding on to it. In Bezos' case, in like Musk, Zuckerberg, all of them, the wealth is the lifeblood of their companies. That is wealth tied up in share prices. And if they were to just go, withdraw, $100 billion, and I'm going to give it to third world African countries.
It wouldn't do anyone any good.
It destroys the company. It crashes the economy in the country they give the money to. It just doesn't work. It can be like massively more destructive. So it's not as simple as just like giving away your wealth. I mean, and so that's why it frustrates me when people have this naive view of the truly wealthy, saying like they are literally just evil lizard people who will never give their money away. They just want to hold on to it. Like maybe some of them, but the majority I don't think are necessarily evil. They just are.
They know that giving away wealth will do more damage than good. It's like the same thing as, I know it sounds awful to say, and it's like a bit of a hard topic for some people to hear. But like, if I give someone everything and every opportunity, they won't want to work for it, right? And that's where I think the problem's coming in, is they just expect a handout, but they're not realizing that someone actually worked hard and put time into giving you that handout. And it's like, it's what you do with it. They could give you. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink, sort of thing.
Just throwing money at a problem or at people will not make things better. Necessarily.
But then I look again at like, a YouTuber like Mr. Beast, who actually, like, controversially, what I like about him is that he does good with his money.
Yeah.
But he promotes doing good deeds. It's not just like he'll go and throw money at the problem and throw money at the situation. He will rather go and make you work for it.
Yeah.
Like giving you a challenge, make you stay in a building for a certain period of time. You know what I'm saying? And to me, Mr. Beast, like, that is a major, like, mind process that went into that. He didn't just start handing out money and handouts. He was just like, you want it, you got to earn it. And that to me was very controversial, seeing it, a guy with that much power doing so much good, but also not just good for individuals. He would go and say, like, if you donate $1, I'll plant a tree.
I mean, he's done incredible things. I think Team C's, his company, like, collaboration with Mark Rober, has cleaned like 6 million pounds of trash from the ocean. He's built hundreds of wells in Africa, built homes. Like, Beast Philanthropy is like a major player in the philanthropy space, and that's pretty incredible to see. Do I think that the content is really childish and naive and could be done better? 100%. But at least there's effort there. At least he's not just squandering his money. And to see him, you know, like blowing up trains and crushing Lamborghinis for a challenge, that frustrates me. But at least there is an aspect of it where he's actually trying to give back.
But what I like about him when it comes to, like, I don't agree with, I'm with you there, bro. Like, I don't agree with the blowing up of trains and the crashing. But at the same time, I look at that and I'm like, you know what? At least he's taking the money that he's making off his movements, because it is a movement at this point in time. It's not just like he has a major following, he has fans. It's a movement. It's like a whole organization at this point. And when I look at that, when he blows up those things and stuff, it's like he's not just taking money that is just lying around. It's stuff that he's like, this will get views. I'm going to take this and just throw it straight back into YouTube. And I believe he actually holds on to like a very small percentage of all the money he makes off YouTube. Otherwise, he just reinvests it.
And you see similar things with Musk. I mean, Musk lives in like a $50,000 like prefab home. It's like the size of this living room. Like, it's tiny.
What I love about Musk is he's South African, and he's kind of like, I won't go into. There's something I really want to speak about, but I'll chat about it afterwards. But like with Musk, what I found really funny about him is like to me, he's the biggest problem solver in the world today. He's really thinking outside of the box.
Excellent engineer.
And like the only problem I have with him is like, why the fuck do you want to go live on Mars? like why would anyone want to live there, bro?
It's like pretty nice.
Like, you can drive your mates out into the desert and be like, you want to live on Mars, bro? Get out the car and survive 2 days.
No, I really hope this podcast doesn't come back to haunt me in like 10 years' time, but I am a Musk fan. Like, I have a lot of friends who like hate me for that, because a lot of people think he's literally the devil incarnate. And like, sure, he's also like can be very childish at times, can be irresponsible. Like, when you're that big, you're going to make massive mistakes that impact thousands of lives and do damage. But the net good he's doing for this species, I think, vastly outweighs the net bad.
You know what? I'm with you there, bro. I'm also a Musk fan, but I do think that as a controversial figure, he needs to take a step back sometimes.
No, he's massively irresponsible on Twitter. Oh my word. Like, the tweets he puts out,
that's
no thought. Just like, I'm going to say this without considering the consequences for like billions of human lives.
No. That's where I take a step back on Musk and I'm like, whoa, bro, like, what are you doing?
The actual heck?
Like, I see why you bought Twitter now.
I know. It's just like, oh my goodness,
But like, that just boggles my mind, dude. It's like Elon Musk is like, to me, the most amazing thing. I don't know if you've seen that webpage he started where people can like bring in suggestions for ideas of inventions.
No.
So, I think it was Musk. I'm pretty certain it's Musk, but I might be wrong. He started a webpage where people can give him invention ideas.
Okay.
Or like ideas from movies and stuff that haven't been created yet. And he will see if it's like, first of all, feasible. And if it's doable. And he'll throw money at it at it if it is.
Oh wow. Okay.
So so I thought that was really cool. It was like a billionaire like that trying to throw money at crazy ideas that may or may not work.
Yeah, that's fine.
But he wants to see if it's possible. So the one thing that really messed with my mind is he wanted to create the hoverboard from Back to the Future.
Oh yeah.
And that was an idea that someone suggested. He was like, let's try it. So you know what he started off with was magnetism.
Yeah.
He'd have like a magnetic skate park where the boards repel from like
maglev. Yeah.
Yeah, so you could literally skate in the skate park without wheels or anything. And I was like, that's actually pretty sick. The only problem was the magnets weren't strong enough, and there was like a whole lot of issues that arose.
Okay.
But I was like, that's going to happen. It's trial and error.
Yeah, yeah.
And that to me was amazing. It was like just that he took that idea and he was like, no, I'm going to run with this.
Exactly.
Like, that to me is a innovative mind. Someone that's really like not just working for himself, but working for people.
Yeah, yeah. No, Musk is incredible. I mean, he's just such an unlikely figure that through sheer force of will, like literally, I mean, there's so much propaganda about him online. He's like, okay, I'm revealing myself a little bit here. I think it was my grandfather knew Musk's father. Like they worked together or something. Not associated with the Musks in any way, but like he did not come from like emerald mines or generational wealth. Like he moved to Canada with next to nothing, like Musk, and built himself up. And through this sheer, like, insane determination, do not quit mindset, like, he built multi-trillion-dollar companies at this point. Like, he's taking us to Mars, like, as an individual, which is just crazy.
It's mind-boggling.
Yeah.
I'll let you in on something, bro. Like, I might get in trouble for this, but I'll let you in on something that really, like, was amazing to me. Is a mate of mine used to run backpackers.
Okay.
And Elon Musk was a guy that walked into one of the backpackers one day here in South Africa, bro. Before he had just come back to visit, I think his mom or something.
Okay, yeah.
But he wanted to go and see like certain points in South Africa.
That's crazy.
So he walked into a backpackers one day, and my mate was sitting down at the pub, and he was like, "Whoa!" He wasn't as controversial as he was, but he was like still building his name. If you understand what it was like, way back when he was still like. He had just started that. I think he started off with vending machines and stuff when he dropped out of college.
Oh, so that far
like that far back, yeah. So he was still starting out and getting somewhere.
Wow.
And this oak told me like he walked in, he recognized his face on TV one day, but like he had a serious conversation with him about business and thing.
Crazy, yeah.
And like what boggled my mind was like, yo, dude, like, do you know how crazy that is? He said. The biggest moments in his life is when he saw him on TV, knowing that he had been in a backpack and he had seen him once.
Yeah. It's so bizarre to think that he was here. Like, my dad went to school with him. Like, literally, Pretoria Boys High. They were I don't think they were in the same grade. He was like, I think Musk is a few years younger, but they were at school during the same period.
That's crazy.
And, like, my dad doesn't have much memory of him because apparently he was, like, super quiet, super introverted. But, like, both at Pretoria Boys High in, like, the 70s or 80s or whenever.
But, like, that's crazy is that, like, he doesn't have... What really worries me about him is he doesn't have the, like, African roots.
No.
He doesn't want to associate with this country. And I feel like if he actually kind of, like, admitted that he was, like, a part of this and like he loved this country, I'm sure deep down somewhere he loves this place, bro.
Yeah, I hope so.
Like because this place, South Africa, in a nutshell, is like, if you haven't been to South Africa, you should really come. Just do your research first.
Please do. For me, it's just everything here. Like, it's rare that you find a country that really has just all ends of the spectrum, like, and good and bad. And the diversity.
To me, it's like the Rainbow Nation, bro. Just that word alone speaks like wonders about this place. It's like you got people from all walks of life here. You got people from all over the world wanting to invest here, wanting to stay here. Like, look at Cape Town. Right?
Cape Town is Europe at this point.
Yes, like it's crazy to think about that. We have so much potential, and like the thing is, we can move as forward as a nation at any given point in time. We just need to learn to see the humanity within each other and literally care about each other. And because like I love Nelson Mandela's dream, and I look at that all the time to reflect back on like myself sometimes, and I'm like, you know what, that oak did so many incredible things for this country, and I'd hate to see his dream die.
Yeah.
That always messes with me a bit.
Yeah.
It's like, because he had a dream, he had a vision for this place.
Yeah.
And it's like, you can only appreciate it when you understand the history, and you not like appreciate it, but like understand the history and learn from it. Because they say history repeats itself.
Yeah.
So the minute we actually start learning from those past eras and learning how to work with each other and learning how to make this place better for each other, and caring for our neighbors, and like doing all the things that he kind of envisioned, we'll see this country thrive, because it was a vision. It was something he saw that came to him, that motivated him to be who he was. And to me, bro, what other country in the world had two world leaders live on the same road?
Seriously, who was the other one? Mandela and
Desmond Tutu.
Seriously,
they lived on the same street.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Like, how crazy is that? And I watched a video the other day that, like, if you look at South Africa as a nation, there was a guy talking like in front of a Christian group of people, and he was like, South Africa, American dude, was like, South Africa is a leadership nation, and he started listing facts.
Yeah.
I would love to go find that video again, because I was like, that is so cool.
Yeah.
He just started listing facts about why we are a leadership nation. He said, if you think about it, especially geographically, we centralized, very centralized to the world. That's why we have like so many major ports, and all our exports of fruit and things all come from South Africa out of the rest to the rest of the world.
I fully agree with you there. Like, I think the potential is here for us to be like a truly like global leader in multiple categories. Like, we have the natural resources, we have the massive diversity of the people. Like, we just have so many incredible things, and so often it's just an absolute tragedy of mismanagement.
Yes.
Like, the government is, I don't want to sound like a middle-aged South African here, but there are some issues there, let's face it. Like, if we could sort that out, then I think we could do so well for ourselves. Like, as just like a leader in the world in multiple areas. Like, it would be so awesome. And I think right now there's more hope than there has been probably in, like, I don't know, 15, 20 years, in terms of like the political changes, the upheavals there.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think in this latest election, South Africa has set like a world example in terms of like, how on earth can you have two like opposition parties teaming up? Never in a million years in like pretty much any other first world country. Like,
and if you look at it, it's like that's the first time history was broken.
Exactly.
Like they say, history repeats itself. That was the first time I saw history break.
Yeah.
And it was like, to me, that was like a bit of a breath of fresh air. If you know what I'm saying.
Democracy won for the first time in however long. Like, America could never. UK could never. Like, they are way too. They're at each other's throats.
They're too separate.
War. Yeah, it's too.
And you know what? To me, that was like incredible. That two very different politically viewed parties were like, you know what? We actually need to do something for the people.
It's like unheard of, and that for me just also gives me so much more hope about like, the state of democracy in this country, where we could go. The potential. It's very exciting. I don't want to speak too soon, but like, it's given me more hope than I think most South Africans have had in at least our lifetimes.
Bro, you know what? I look at people, like, I have so many friends that, like, they didn't give up on this country. They were like, they had opportunities to leave. They had opportunities to go to wherever they wanted to go. And I look at them and, you know what they said? Like, they lost hope for a bit, but the hope was always sitting in their heart deep down somewhere. And that's what drove them to stay here.
Yeah.
And there's a whole Facebook group, believe it or not, of people that move overseas and come back.
Yeah. I mean, we should be part of that group. My family moved to Australia, immigrated for the better life in 2009.
And you weren't happy there.
We were back here 3 years later.
But isn't that incredible? It's like, there's something about this place, bro, that just draws people back to it.
Yeah. I still maintain, like, I've been on a mini world tour over the last couple of years. Been to like America, UK, Australia, like you name it, and like there's something special about Ballito. Like, for the quality of life that you get here, just the general like atmosphere is so much better than anywhere else. I think we do have a bias because we were raised here, so this always does feel like home. But still, like, there's just something about it. Like,
so I look at one of my best friends, dude. He moved to the UK, and I'm calling you out. Yes, I am.
Yeah.
He moved to the UK, and you know what? For like only now, he still says to me, bro. I'll phone him up, and he'll be like, "I miss home."
Yeah.
And that to me, like, I know one day he'll come back here. I know he's probably going to listen to this, and he's going to be like, "Fuck you, dude." But you know what? I know one day he'll come home because he knows where the soul is, bro. I feel like this country speaks to people. It's like there's certain things that come out of here that have never come out anywhere else in the world.
Exactly. Agreed. Yeah. And I mean, not to slander the UK, but I was just there, and like it's not all that it's hyped up to be. Like, I was there during summer, and like, sure, it's nice and it's peaceful, but it's so quiet and calm and like overly regulated, and I don't know, like I couldn't imagine myself living there long term. Like, I would need to come back here just for like a breather, you know? Yeah.
Should we call it?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, because we almost at an hour.
Are we?
Yeah.
Oh my word!
Because the first one was about
that's crazy. Okay, cool. That went by super fast.
Thanks, everybody. This has been the Pipeline. I hope you guys all enjoy. And we'll post whenever we post.
When we have time.
Yeah, when we have time.
Cool.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Bye.
Cheers.